production. episode 75 of the Planet Nintendo podcast, and let's see what's on tap for today. First off, we're going to start off with the PM picks and go through that, and me and Joe are going to discuss what we love, what we don't love, and all that good stuff. Then, a new game coming to the Wii U. What is that all about? It's 2019, Joe. I thought the Wii U was dead. With rumors of the Castlevania collection coming to the Nintendo Switch, what exactly are we looking for, and what do we hope is on that collection? Could Nintendo ever implement a Game Pass service to Nintendo Switch? And the Octopath prequel, what do you think about it? So let's kick it off with the coolest host in the planet, Mr. Joe After Work. How you doing, sir?
Yo, I was expecting the intro. I forget.
Yeah, I don't have the intro. I'm gonna get it set up. I'm gonna get it set up so we could do that.
I'll send it to you. Send it to you.
Send it to me, and then I can actually implement it. We could do that, and then kick over, and then kick back, and like have it all together. But anyway,
we're getting there, fam. This is only week 2 of like back-to-back live streaming, right?
But this is here's the thing: 2 weeks. I'm the only one, the sole survivor that's lasting. You ditched out the first week. Pat ditches out the second week, and I'm just here, the sole survivor, baby.
Hold on. I may have missed 2 episodes, but I'm still more than you.
No.
In missed episodes.
No. We're talking live episodes. Since we changed the format, I'm rocking it.
Oh my God.
You are, hey.
Whatever. But yo, 75. We're 25 away from 100, dude.
That's crazy.
This is nuts.
Man. That is crazy, bro.
Holy crap.
Well, Pat took away the specialty of a live show. So it's not like we can do a live show for like episode 100 or something special.
We'll figure something out. So it's whatever. But yeah, no, I'm doing good. I've had some low energy this week, but I've been sleeping like a bear these last 2 days. I feel refreshed.
Step it up, because we're not playing this groggy Joe.
Don't worry. We're good. We're good, fam. I'm ready.
So here's the thing, right? For those that are watching right now and go, man, Pat actually looks better looking this week. I'm sorry to burst your bubble. My name is Bobby, the Nintendo Guru. Pat actually has the flu this week. He's actually in the chat at the moment talking. He's sick. We hope we get better, Pat. We love you to death. But we were like, you know what? We're just gonna roll with this. We're gonna do it. We got your back. We're gonna keep pushing forward, because that's what we do around here. Like, even if the show comes out 3 weeks late, we're gonna it'll be there for you guys. So first off, PM picks. Joe, what are you playing this week?
Man, what haven't I been playing, dude? Caligula Effect Overdose, JRPG, folks will enjoy this. If you want the Persona feel, this is Persona Lite in a nutshell. Mm-hmm. Until we get that Persona 5R announcement, if that ever actually makes it to the Switch. But it's written, music composed, both by folks that have worked on previous Persona games. I am having a blast. I'm almost at the 20-hour marker with this game, and they've added a scenario in this version of the game, because it was a Vita exclusive. Okay. We talked about it a couple weeks back, but like now I can like really talk about what's going on here.
Okay.
And I just been going in, playing both sides. It's really interesting, the personal conversations between all the characters. Like sometimes I'm like, I'm not really feeling it. But this one has got me doing a bunch of those side stories and really learning about each individual character and how some of them even cross over in certain conversations that you have with them. So I've been having a blast. I've been lost. Everyone's been like diving deep with me on this one.
So the thing that I want to talk about is this. There's a lot of people that we know that apparently are insiders to gaming and such, but they didn't get to go to this little presentation that you went to. By NIS, right? And So what? That's why you weren't here last week. For those that don't really know, we just a huge reason why you weren't here last week. But we discussed, we said that you were in California last weekend. Can you talk about it now? Like, what exactly?
Yeah.
Let's get into it a little bit. Like, what exactly happened? How did this all come about for you?
So for me, I got an email from NIS America's PR team, and they're like, "Hey, you're invited, blah blah blah, to this thing. We're gonna do this showcase, and you're gonna be able to play some of the games that are there." And I was like, oh, great, awesome. I filled out the RSVP and whatnot. They pretty much sent it out to all the people that are like signed up to like the press stuff. So I try to like get certain review copies for certain games from them. We've done Yomawari, Yize, excuse me. A lot of their games you already know. Like personally,
Yeah.
like I buy a lot of their
Yeah.
collector's editions. I'm a bit of a nut when it comes to that stuff. So when I got that invite, I was like, oh crap, dude, yes, please, like, can I do this? Like, I managed to get the day off. I managed to get the flight. I talked to the missus, and it was done. I was like, I'm flying in and then coming right back home right
That's
afterwards. It
amazing.
was nuts.
Also, there was some misinformation out there. Again, the insiders apparently didn't know what they were talking about. With like they were acting like this is a huge thing that NIS is coming to Nintendo, like they didn't really support Nintendo before. That's not true, correct?
Sorry, you cut out completely, but I'm guessing it was that, and the thing about NIS like making an impact with Nintendo
Yes,
consoles. Is that
yes,
what you?
yes, yes, yes.
Okay, cool. I
Yeah,
just want to
yeah.
make sure
I
I'm
don't know.
there
Yeah,
with you.
you kind of like blipped and froze for a second, but go ahead.
Yeah. So pretty much, yeah. Like NES has had some sort of relation with Nintendo on the handheld side throughout the years. I mean,
Yeah,
it may have not been crazy. It might be more now so than in the past, but they've been dropping games DS, 3DS. I'm not 100% sure about the Wii U era, but I want to say so as well.
yeah,
And I anything before that I can't speak to personally, but definitely within the handheld era,
yeah.
they have had a presence of some sort. So
Which is
there's
awesome.
there's that, yeah, which is awesome. It just means, right now, the Vita, rest in peace, has had its moment,
Yeah,
and NIS tends to trend towards wherever the Japanese market for a lot of the Westerners go in
yeah,
certain cases when it
hmm
comes to NAS America.
yeah,
And so that's PS4, that's the Switch.
yeah,
And JRPGs on handhelds work really well because you can grind out on the go.
yeah.
That's the hugest thing. So
The
clear that up.
so the thing that I want to that I think is pretty cool is like you went there, right? You
Hmm.
spent a day essentially, flew back, but they found out about that and they were impressed that you did that. Like they were shocked that you like did that, and I think that's pretty cool that they recognized the fact that you were like, "Hey, I'm only coming out for a brief moment, and then I'm going back home." How did they even find out that you were only there for?
So before I booked my flight, I was kind of like, hey, I RSVP'd, but I just want to make sure that I'm on the list because I have to book a flight to get out there. And they got back to me within like an hour or so. Like their responses were super quick. Everyone over there was super nice too, by the way.
Yeah,
Like
that's
shout out
awesome.
that entire the testing staff, the social
Yeah,
media crew, like everyone there was super nice. The marketing team too, like Travis and Aaron, who was on that showcase as well. But yeah, no, everyone was super cool. I got but yeah, that's how they found out, was through that email, and then Aaron responded back like uh a couple days after the fact, like, hey, I didn't know you flew out, so like thank you. It was like, yeah,
that's pretty
whatever.
awesome.
Like this was an awesome, like I wasn't gonna not try to make an attempt to do this. Like
Yeah. Well, you said to me because you had said to me like you had reached out to see if they would allow one more person to go. And you're like,
yeah.
I want you to go. And I'm like, dude, there's no way I can go to California, man. Like I can't go for a day. Like what the crazy thing that blows me away is like you had zero notice and you were just like, drop everything, let's go. I'm in. And I was just like, me, I'm like, yeah, Joe, I gotta work, man. I don't know, like down here in Jersey, we actually work. Like I don't know what happens up there in New York, but we don't have like free reign to just be like, nope, we're not gonna go into work today. We're just gonna take a couple days off, fly to Cali. No, we don't do that.
You gotta pull the negotiation. I was like, yo, I gotta come back on Sunday for this, so can I just take the Friday off?
It
And I'm
worked.
still working my 60 hours. There we go, and I worked.
That works. That works. Yeah, I sadly, I'm the only one that works in the office now.
Oof.
So yeah, I'm working 6 days, which I don't mind. I'm not hating. I'm not hating at all. Like, but like I'm working 60 hours, well, close to 60 hours a week, and it just doesn't. I should be over 60 hours a week. I think they're ripping me off, Joe. I'm thinking
Uh
about
oh.
thinking
I
about
just
my
put
checks.
you on something.
I'm thinking about my checks, and they're only 52 hours, and I got 50 hours by Friday, 10-hour days. So Saturday
man.
should be 5 hours. I'm getting ripped off. I'm getting ripped off 3 hours. Something ain't right.
You better check that out.
No, it's fine. Listen, I'm making good money. I'm not hating.
There you go. There you go.
Myself, man, I've been playing a lot of different things because I've been actually streaming a lot this week, playing with the community. I gotta fire up because I gotta remember what game that was I started playing. I forget the name of the game I was playing.
Yeah, while you're doing that, you want me to just list off a few things to keep an eye out for?
Go ahead. Yeah.
I'll say Lapis Cross Labyrinth. I'm listing off some of the games that I got to play there that aren't out just yet, but I'm allowed to talk about. Yeah. Lapis Cross Labyrinth. It's like a 2D platform hack and slash. You can do 4 different classes of characters and like stack them up and swap them out and beat them up. It's a really fun, cutesy hack and slash game. Similar reigns to Mark for Dragon, I would say, almost, except a little more crazy and wacky.
Yeah.
RPG Maker, although a lot of the stuff is restricted, like hard coding and being able to add your own music and being able to add your own designs and such, there is a lot to it there. Another one was Neo Atlas. Shout out to Rybo because that's a total Rybo game. It's Civilization Light, and the Princess Guide, which comes out in like a week and a half, which is another beat 'em up cutesy type that's taken a lot of the artwork and assets from Penny Punching Princess, which dropped last year, but even more fleshed out. So those are some games to look out for.
Okay, so I started playing Assault Android Cactus. This game is really good. I don't know anybody that's played it yet or not. Like, dive in if you get a chance. This game is phenomenal. This game is basically like a twin stick shooter. You're these android. You work for the police department and you're defending things. Like, it, is phenomenal. Like, it is such a good game. CJ, Chris Johnston of the Planet or Player One podcast turned me on to it this week on Twitter. I bought it. It's only like $6, something like that. So good. Seriously, so good. It's just a fun, carefree thing. You get all these power-ups. You're shooting. You're running fast. It's a good game. It's a really good game. I started Wolfenstein. And then I stopped it after 2 seconds because it's just, dude, I didn't have enough time to play through all the cutscenes and stuff. There's a million cutscenes at the start of it. I'm not ready for that.
It's slow to start. It's
very slow to start. Very slow to start. I bought Legendary 11. I did not play that yet because I watched that during. It's a soccer game. It's
okay.
Don't get too excited over there. But it looks good. It looks good. I basically got turned on to it this week when I was watching the Impact Direct that I streamed live on my channel. The other thing, I think a lot of people are going to be very happy to hear that I finally dove in. Ukulele was on sale this week, and I bought it for $20. And my impressions are that I absolutely wasted $20. That game is trash. That game is bad. Joe,
oh man,
it is bad. The controls.
I still have not played it yet.
The controls are bad. It's bad. It's I'm running around today and I'm like, how do I do moves? What's going on here? Like, how do I get places? I hit pause to see, is there a menu? No menu. I don't know what buttons do what. Like, it is proverbial.
Oh man,
hot trash in the summer, all day long.
Damn,
so bad. It is so bad. Anybody that buys this game, please, I feel bad for you because I feel bad for myself. You should just burn that thing. Seriously, that would be the best thing you ever did, was burn that piece of garbage. That is so bad. That game is trash. And okay, so the other thing is I jumped into Fortnite a little bit this week. Something feels amiss with it. I don't know.
Really?
I don't know what it is. I've been playing this week, and like I'm getting one-shotted a lot by like shotties, and it shouldn't be that way. So I don't know if something is off, if there's a bug in the game, But the past 3 days I've been playing, and like literally gone in like 10 minutes, not even, of playing the game. I land and then I just get wiped out real quick.
You think hacking?
No, I don't think hacking, because what they did was, we found out this week, was what Epic did was they kind of curtailed crossplay. This caused a lot of controversy because a lot of news outlets weren't paying attention and essentially reported something falsely this week. But what they did was they took Nintendo. If you're doing crossplay, if I just log in and I start playing with Switch players and mobile players. PS4 players and Xbox play with PC and all that stuff, because what they're doing is they're separating the frame rates. So the 30 frames per second play with each other, the 60 frame.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
60 with 60.
That's
30
what.
with 30.
Okay, so that's what Deuterino's saying. Like the shotguns weren't balanced. So either they're OP or they just suck. So I've been taking shotguns, shooting people, hitting them once, barely taking anything off of them, and they one shot me in the face and I'm dead. And it's not even like they're close to me or anything. Like they're a distance away. They hit me and I just drop immediately. So I couldn't figure out what exactly was going on. So probably they'll fix and balance that. But here's the thing: people thought like, oh, so crossplay is gone for Nintendo. No, because if I decide that I want to play with Dude or Pat, and Pat's playing on his Xbox and Dude's playing on his PlayStation, we could still all play together. What they did was, if you're playing by yourselves, they've separated it to make the experience better. Because what they're finding out is, and I can attest to this, is when you're a Nintendo Switch player and you're playing against PS4 players or Xbox players, they just have the edge. You could tell
frames matter.
The frames are huge in this game, so it's a little different. Speaking of things that matter, apparently something matters, Joe. It's 2019 and we are getting a Wii U game.
Dude,
this is crazy.
The story is even crazier.
Yeah, there's a twofold thing here. So, I guess the first side of this is the Wii U side of it. This is to basically finalize the Kickstarter. This was part of the Kickstarter program, if I'm not mistaken, or the promise of the Kickstarter program.
That's how I understood it, yeah.
Was basically to put this game on the Wii U. Limited Run is doing the games, is that right? Is that correct?
They are doing this one in particular, the Wii U one.
Okay, so I guess before, Badlands publisher was doing the other games, if I'm correct in what I'm saying.
Yeah, and they did the multiverse version for the Switch. That one I can attest to, because I actually bought it, and I feel terrible that.
Well, you shouldn't feel terrible. You shouldn't feel terrible that you bought it. Well, here's the thing: you shouldn't feel terrible that you bought it because you didn't know the circumstances and the promises that were made prior, because this was all a secret until recently. Tom Happ, who created the game, his son has a condition, and that condition is apparently they didn't catch his jaundice. I know I'm pronouncing it very wrong, but there's a disease that kids have that if you don't catch it quick enough, it can turn into something traumatically bad. And they didn't catch it, and his son has all these issues. So what Badland Games was, what they promised was all of the proceeds of Axiom Verge, 75% of those proceeds would go to his son for his medical bills. Because his medical bills, as you can imagine, are very, very high. Yeah. Turns out that when the time came to pay, Badland just stopped answering calls, stopped talking to Tom Happ, stopped talking to Dan Adelman. Also, because Dan Adelman basically represents Tom Happ in the negotiations and stuff and all that stuff. Dan Adelman, I don't know, actually was in charge of all the indies of Nintendo prior to the Switch and all that stuff. He was during the Wii U era, and then he left Nintendo and started linking up with indies and helping to promote their games and get them on platforms they wanted to go. So he worked very closely with Tom Happ during all this to get it on Xbox and all that different stuff. And then Limited Run Games even reached out to Badland to be like, hey man, you owe this money. What exactly are you doing? So Pat put this out this week on Twitter and basically was like, this is going to be one of the topics that we're discussing, and we are right now. What's your knee jerk reaction when you hear this?
I mean, dude, like the whole situation sucks all around. It's amazing that this game is finally coming out, and even Limited Runs was like, dude, we just want to get this game out because we're trying to like almost bring justice to an issue that's been going on for what did they say, 4 years or something like that, somewhere along those lines.
Yeah.
And where you have almost a situation where they're not even responding back because they're quote unquote trying to get themselves off the ground and pay their employees on time. Like, what? Where do you come off with just like completely disappearing and then trying to come back, respond once in between all that and then disappear again and not hear anything at all? $75,000, I think it was, right? Was somewhere along that line.
It was a pretty penny.
Was basically what Limited Runs gave Badland Games before they fell through and then became Badland Publishing, which Limited Runs didn't even know at the time what the hell was going on. I think Josh was the dude that was dealing with this whole business process part of it and trying to get the physical going on. And it was like, basically either you pay us back the money or give us some kind of compensation for us putting this out, or like that's it. And apparently finally something has happened to where they're able to get this game out, but they're not even coming close to breaking even with this release, which is insane. Again, it's terrible. It's horrible. Like, it's bad business all around, and this makes a dent in the name Badland Publishing now that it's out in the public, and it's going to get really ugly. And first off, indie developers are probably never going to work with this company again.
Yeah.
People aren't gonna support games from them if they know what's going on. Of course, like there's gonna be people who have no idea what's going on. Oh, this game, great, and who cares about what the publisher or developer are? 9 times out of 10, that's usually how it goes, sort of thing.
Yeah.
But like for people like us, dude, I'm out. I'm not supporting, like, unless something drastically changes that they're going to like make sure that they follow up on their word. Like, I can't support something like that. That is insane. And I never go off and say something like that ever. Like, how there's like the thing with the EAs and the oh gosh, what's the other company? Whatever. Anyway, this is one that it sucks all around. I can't.
So, okay. So here's my take. First off, I think that I don't know if Limited Run has made a deal with Tom Happ for this, but what I would do is I would do 2 things. One, take the cap off of the Axiom Verge, which they do. They've basically done this pre. So what I would do is this: if you are a Nintendo fan, if you are anything of a decent human being, get in on this Limited Run game. Buy this game. Support this game wholeheartedly. Make it so overwhelmingly powerful that so much money goes to this. I don't care if the game's $50. Just reach in your pocket and give it $50 just because this guy deserves. You got to understand, Axiom Verge was made by one guy. That entire game was made by one guy. Whether you like the game or not, I think that people should just reach out and just to, as a show of good faith from the gaming community, to appease and to give this guy some money. I have the game on the Wii U. I have the game on Switch. I have the game, I think, on PS4 as well. Never bought a physical copy of the game. I will buy this game physically. I am going to buy it through Limited Runs. I might even buy 2 copies depending on the price. And depending on what Limited Run does, if they make it super limited hard to get, which I hope they don't do. I hope they just basically go, here's a pre-order period, which they've been doing recently. But I don't know what the idea behind this is because it's a Wii U game. I don't know if there's different limitations with this. The other thing is Badland Games or Badland Publishing. So here's the thing. Never heard of them before. Don't know who they are. Don't care who they are. It's probably a good thing that I never heard of them before. It obviously shows that they're trash. My feeling is this. Regardless what game goes to them ever again, what game they publish, I will never buy it. I don't care if Nintendo falls on hard times and puts Animal Crossing on there, puts Smash on there. I won't buy it. I will not support this publishing company ever again. I mean, it's not like I can say that I have in the past. I don't know. I might have and I don't know. But I won't ever again. I will purposely find out if a game is by them. And if it is, I will not support it ever again. I don't care if they make right by this or not. Because the fact that you have to be forced to make right by it tells you about something about someone's character. You shouldn't have to be forced or backed into a corner to make right what you're doing. If you make a promise... Go ahead, what?
100% you do not own any of these games. I'm looking at their website right now.
Okay, that's good. That's good then. But what are some games that are on there?
Code Realize is probably the most notable one out of what I'm seeing here. Other ones I have... Occupation just came out.
Okay.
Mars Chaos Menace, Long Journey Home, Genesis Alpha 1, Noah Mund, Untold Stories, Lovecraft.
It don't matter. Don't even give them more notoriety. Here's the thing. I won't ever support them. Never. Don't matter what the game is. Nobody should support them. If you bought a game by them, which they're probably not even doing physical copies, but if you ever bought a game by them, man, if you can return it, return it. Like my personal opinion, I don't ever want to see people do badly, and I don't feel bad. I feel bad when people rally up against. But if what is true by this story, this is disgusting beyond belief, and we as gamers should not ever condone this behavior. If a company makes a promise, they better keep it. It's that simple. This nonsense of it's just bad business. It's bad. It's not even bad business. It's just disgusting. You know what I mean? Like, it's horrible to think that this guy, don't even make the promise if that's not what you're gonna do. And don't give me this nonsense that you got to pay your employees. That's why you're holding the money back. Because guess what? Your employees shouldn't even have this money anyway to be paid by. It's just messed up.
And just to add to Pat's thing, he's saying Overcooked 2 Yoku Islands Express. That might be on other consoles, because Team 17 published it on the Switch, and Rhyme was by a different company on the Switch. So that might just be publishing for other consoles, possibly.
Okay.
So keep an eye on that.
Okay, so they did those games, but they did them on other consoles. They didn't do it on Nintendo.
It might be, yeah, because I just did a quick search, and it was a different...
Well, fortunately, I don't buy other console games, so I don't have to worry about that stuff. But still, if you bought physical copies of these guys, like, they should just go. Like, hopefully they do. Dude, it doesn't matter if they publish Hotel Transylvania 4 or not. I'm not getting it regardless. That's not happening, bro. You have a sickness, dude, and we have to get you some help. I don't know what's going on over there, but bro, it's bad. You got it bad. You've been hanging around Jams and Rybo way too much. Way too much. We need to get you away from them guys. Seriously. But let's backpedal here for a second. I don't know how you actually feel. Me personally, I love the Wii U, and it was up until the point, it was definitely one of my favorite consoles, just because I enjoyed the games that were on it. I loved the games that were on it. There was a lot of really great Nintendo games on it. So for me, I like hearing this, that it's going to be available, physical copy for the Wii U. We know a couple people that collect Wii U games, Jams, and I didn't realize this, but Nasty also has almost a complete collection.
Which is crazy.
Yeah, and Nasty's freaking out right now because it's a U.S. only game, and he's like, how do I get this?
That's terrible.
How do I get this? So this is what I'm going to do. Like I said to you, I'm going to try to get 2 copies. I'm going to get one. I'm going to send it to Nasty if I can do that. So if I can get 2 copies, I'm going to send one to Nasty.
Nice.
Even if I can't get 2 copies, I'll get one and send it to Nasty, because I'm not going to play it. I'm not, you know what I mean? But I would like to just have that physical copy, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong, the game is phenomenal. The game's a great game. But I would like to just have 2 copies if I can get it.
I got to see what the collector's edition looks like, because if it's that much more different than the multiverse edition, I may entertain it.
Here you
But
go.
I haven't bought
Here you go.
But I haven't bought anything from Limited Run in some time. I think I finally just got everything from what I ordered last year officially from them.
That's the problem with Limited Run. They take forever.
This is the last one I've been waiting on, and it was because the developer had gotten sick. There were some issues, and this was ordered back in, I want to say, June, July-ish last year.
How are you... The thing that I don't understand is, how are they so behind the eight ball on these things?
It's because they give the concept to... They treat it almost like a Kickstarter, to be honest. They get the money for set amount of copies, or they open it up. They show you what the concept is, but then they're not working on getting these things out until the orders are done, it seems like. Because I'll get updates. It's like, hey, we're going through what different packages look like and blah, blah, blah. And here's, where we're at with this, that, and the other thing. I was like, oh, so they don't, like, I get the impression that they don't work on any production until those things are...
Makes sense. Makes sense. I can support that. I can get behind that. Because they are a business, and they are a smaller company. Even though they do a lot of big games, they are a smaller company. I get it. It's just... I look at like Super Rare, and like the only game I ever bought was Mutant Mudds, and I bought that thing and it was shipped like a couple days later. Yeah. So, and I think that's what most people. But correct? No, that's not even the case too, because my buddy Miguel, who has like, I think he's approaching 300 Switch titles now, physical Switch titles. The guy's a madman. I'm going to do a video with him and go through his collection one day.
I don't even think I broke 100.
Oh, he's an absolute madman. This guy is just sick in the head. I don't know what all the time.
You can't look at me anymore, Bobby. I might have 300 games, including digital, but not physical.
He's dude, and he's got them from Germany, from Japan. He's got them from all over. And he this. What's crazy is, if like he actually imported Bayonetta from Germany because they actually did 2 physical copies. And I was like, "Are you kidding me, dude?" He's like, "Yeah," and he's like, he's been getting a lot from Spain, Amazon Spain, because he's a language teacher. Like he teaches different languages, so he can translate. I mean, if you can speak Spanish, you can do it anyway. Even though the Spanish is a little different.
Spanish is a little more formal.
Yeah, but he understands it. He knows it. He understands it. And so he'll go on there, he'll read the thing and buy games from there, and he knows how to read the packaging and all. I'm like, this is nuts, dude. But yeah, he's approaching 300 copies. I'm like, you are a madman. He's like, when I hit 300, I am just going to buy what I want to buy, not go for everything anymore. Because I'm like, dude,
please.
I'm like, my God, your wallet. He's got to be broke. He's got to be broke. He's a teacher, man. He ain't making that much money.
Man, he must own all the trash games then too.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
I feel bad.
He owns ukulele, definitely. Yeah.
Oh no. Don't do it.
But I do think it's pretty cool that we are getting a Wii U game in 2019. I think that's pretty, and it's not just Dance, because that was the only game slated for 2019 was Just Dance 19.
Well, yeah.
So
it's gonna be like,
it's kind of cool.
Yeah, it's gonna be like jams every year getting a Just Dance game. God knows how long. I mean,
it's horrible, right?
There was that same Just Dance game that came out for the 2019 edition dropped on the Wii.
As I was gonna say, came to the Wii as well. They're nuts, man. They're nuts.
At some point, something's got to give.
Okay, who's still buying Wii games at this point?
Well, wasn't there that grandma that has 8 bajillion hours on Wii Fit training?
No, it was Animal Crossing.
It was Animal Crossing?
Yeah.
There you go. Yeah.
Well, the only one that I think that actually buys Wii games actually still plays the Wii is Rybo. He's really...
I thought you were going to say Pat.
No, Pat's just, Pat's trash. We don't talk about Pat. No, Rybo's he's real weird and eclectic. He acts like he's playing Apex, but he's really playing, Call of Duty on the Wii.
Oh my God! With the
with the zapper.
Dude, I owned one of those for a hot second. I bought it for Umbrella Chronicles.
I bought it for Zelda.
The crossbow training is what it came with, right?
I bought that. I actually beat that game, and then I was like, okay, I'm never using this thing again.
Dude, oh my god. Yo. That's so good. So good.
I think we've called for this numerous times. We've been wanting to see stuff like this numerous times. But there's a rumor floating right now that Castlevania could be putting together a collection to come to Switch and other Xbox and PlayStation as well. So the question is what games would we want bundled in that collection? But before we get there, what I'd like to do is stop and pause for a minute. So I think that people need to understand, in my opinion, that the power of Smash is just like no other. If you remember back to Capcom on Smash 4 on the Wii U, it was very similar tale. They put Mega Man in Smash 4, and then what does Capcom do? They test the waters. They put out the Mega Man collection to see if there's any life left in Mega Man. And there was. People wanted a new Mega Man game. And it got to the point that we get Mega Man on Switch and all. We get Mega Man 11. What I think is this is a very similar tale where Castlevania now is potentially getting collections. And where this rumor comes from, just so people understand, is Castlevania has been saying all along, like, we have no plans. But then just this past week, they actually reached out to the Australian ratings board to have them rate their games over there. So, and they're calling it, I believe, Castlevania Collection or something like that. You don't do that unless you are going through the process to get the games elsewhere.
No.
But I think it's pretty cool to see that. Now, don't get me wrong. I understand that there was a Netflix series, and that kind of started the big fire of everything. But I do believe that Simon Belmont and Richter and the Dracula stage and all that coming to Smash really... Because the thing is when Smash was building and they were doing this thing where we're bringing in all these characters...
Yeah.
Everybody was calling for Simon Belmont. Everybody. And then when it happened, they lost their minds completely. What's your what's your take when you heard all this news? What was going through your mind?
I mean, dude, first thing I thought of was, okay, are we gonna get weird and get those DS and GBA collections on there? Are they just gonna do 1 through 4? Which we've got 4 on the SNES Classic right now, and we had one of the Castlevania games on the NES Classic at the very least, right? I can't even remember the collection at this point.
We got, I believe it was 1 and 3.
1 and 3?
I believe.
Which, that makes sense. Yeah. 3 being the prequel to everything. I would love to see, if we're going to go balls crazy and do something similar to the Mega Man collection, 1 through 4, Rondo of Blood and Symphony of the Night.
Hold on. You're jumping way ahead here. I just asked what you thought about all this rumor coming to fruition.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't ask about games yet.
Sorry.
Take it easy.
All right, I'll take it easy.
We're going to get there.
I mean, you know what? If that is the rumor, then, you know, take it lightly. But if we're going to get fun with it, then yeah, those would be some of the games. I didn't list everything.
Okay. So the way Capcom did it was all of their games hit, and they did a part 1 and a part 2.
Yeah.
Didn't need to happen that way. Whatever. They could have just put it all in one collection and been done. I do feel that Castlevania would have to do a Volume 1 and a Volume 2.
Of course, definitely.
In order to make this work.
Absolutely.
So let's start. Let's just start and work our way through. First thing is, how many games do you think... Like, is this something you would want to see every game wind up in the collection? Or do you just feel like a handful deserve to go?
So, trying to stick with the lore, because the lore is, like, all over the place with the Castlevania series. Yeah. I think you start off with the earlier ones, for sure. You get your NES and SNES ones out there.
I want it, Joe.
Yeah, no, I'm sticking
Wait,
with you here.
no. I just want to know what's the collect. Like, do you go all full range, or do you go a handful of games? Do you bring all?
I say eventually you bring them all.
Okay,
But
so let's start with this. What I want to know is this, because I'm going to go through each console.
yeah.
And I want to know what you put in, what you keep out.
Mm-hmm.
So with the NES, right? There's 3 games from the NES. You got Castlevania 1, Castlevania 2, Simon's Quest, and then Castlevania 3, Dracula's Curse. Do you bring all 3, or do you keep one away?
No, with those you keep all 3 for sure.
Okay. I don't understand why Simon's Quest typically gets left aside. I know partly why. Partly why is it's the Zelda 2, it's the Super Mario Bros. 2 of the NES era. It's something where they went full 180 on the series, changed the way the game was. Okay, but you think that all 3 should be in there, no doubt about it. Okay.
Oh yeah.
So then the next in line at this point is the Super Nintendo. Castlevania, it's Super Castlevania or Castlevania 4, depending on how you want to look at it. You feel that game definitely, no doubt about it, has to go in.
That has to go in. Ignore the Dracula X though, because that did drop on Super Nintendo.
Yeah. That game came after the it didn't go nowhere else, right? That was just on Super Nintendo, right?
So that was Rondo of Blood.
Okay.
In Japan, and for some reason the Super Nintendo got this really choppy, half bleeped version of Rondo of Blood, and they called it Dracula X, and then later on it dropped on the PSP as the Dracula X Chronicles or something like that. But yeah, that one is very much not the full story of that game, nor the full gaming mechanics, because there's some awesome stuff in there pertaining to a particular character that you can get to get the perfect ending of that game, so to speak.
So on the Super Nintendo, you're only bringing one. You're not bringing them both.
Only one, yeah.
Why? Okay, so why would you only bring one and not both?
4, you're continuing off with this with the series, bringing it, to the Super Nintendo. What the original Castlevania series was, you're going level by level. This is before the term Metroidvania is out and whatnot. You're sticking to classic Castlevania right there.
Okay. Now there was a Game Boy Castlevania, but that was more a mix, wasn't it? That wasn't actually a story on its own. I thought that was kind of a mix of some levels from the original, right?
So I'm not sure 100% on the lore, but I believe it does take place in the midst of all of those games somehow. Okay. Not 100% sure on that one, but I honestly, this would just be the nostalgia for me. I would love to see it in there. As a Castlevania early on series, like I played the ever-loving crap out of Adventures to the point where I didn't even know that there was a Rebirth version on the Wii, so I bought it the last day of the Wii shop shutting down.
Wow.
Yeah, so there's a Rebirth version on the Wii that is stuck to there forever. If we can get one or the other onto this version, I think for historical purposes, that would be amazing.
So then we go, I think the next way you go is the PS1 game, which is Symphony of the Night. And this is where the term Metroidvania starts to build off of. This is the game that I don't even know why Metroidvania comes into it. It should just be Metroid. It's a Metroid type game because they steal the Metroid mechanic or the way Metroid is in this. Iga Rasha does it, and basically just so. But Symphony of the Night, I don't know lore wise because I never played this game. I've always wanted to, just because of the idea of this is a seminal game in the series. But storyline wise, does it match up with what's going on? Like Simon's not in it, right? Simon's going.
No, so this is like Richter Belmont's thing, like that, and Rondo of the Blood, which takes place before. Which is actually a cool thing about Symphony of the Night is you're playing the end of Rondo of Blood right then and there.
Oh wow!
And so that whole beginning segment of you playing as Richter and all that with the terrible dialogue and everything, you can YouTube it. It's hysterical for its time. You then move on to playing Alucard, and Alucard is like this mysterious figure. You don't really know who he is 100% until plot twist, which we'll say for another time. But it does play in with the main Castlevania lore, as far as I understand. It falls into all of that.
Yeah.
But yeah, you would do Rondo of Blood and then Symphony of the Night in that order.
So then, technically, the Netflix series takes place during Symphony.
It does part 3, which I think isn't 3 Richter, or no? Am I wrong about that? Castlevania 3?
No, that's.
Or is that Simon still?
I don't think it's Simon. I think it's Alucard.
No, Alucard is the homie here. Sorry, Castlevania's Curse is 3. That's Trevor Belmont.
Yes.
My bad.
Yes.
Which Trevor Belmont was the dude in the Castlevania series? Is that?
I thought Alucard was in the Castlevania series.
He is in the Castlevania series.
Okay.
He's there. And it's sort of established that like he, is trying to kill his father and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But we won't get into spoilers there, because that's sort of a big plot twist for like 30 years ago.
You just did give spoilers. I don't understand. We're not going to get spoilers, and you give spoilers. I don't understand what's going on.
I know. I'm not going on any further, but we didn't say who he was. So
okay,
it's okay. But yeah, as
you
far
did.
I didn't. I didn't say it. I didn't say it. I just mentioned father. That was it.
You were trash. You're trash, man. You're trash. Okay,
Yeah.
so the thing is
But anyway, yeah, it falls in somewhere in all of that. As far as I understand, like watching videos and trying to understand that myself, it's like some of the stuff is really convoluted. Some of it just doesn't exist in the proper Castlevania lore because of how it takes place, and eventually the Belmonts give the whip and everything to another family. It gets really convoluted like as you go on, and I feel like these games, kind of like Legend of Zelda, you just treat each game as its own game sort of thing at some point,
Yeah, I mean, well, Legend of Zelda has kind of always been its own game, except for a few titles.
But until they decided to make it a timeline thing.
Yeah, and I don't
like that sort of thing.
That's stupid. But with this, it's kind of like there was a time where the storyline all was cohesive, and then they started going off in their own direction. And I think a lot had to do with when different directors started coming into the game. The series. And they started changing things up a lot. So, Symphony of the Night is a definite for you. Now, the GBA got, 3 or 4 games?
Yes, somewhere along those lines.
Because they were churning out a new Castlevania every single year for a good
got crazy.
For a good period of time. Which, listen, people say that those games on the GBA are some of the best Castlevania games ever. Me personally, I would definitely include them. I feel like they need to be there.
I feel like, if we were putting them on a Switch, hands down. But this is where we lead into one that is apparently not canon, and it's my favorite Castlevania game out of any Castlevania game, Circle of the Moon.
Okay.
But you're not playing as any Belmonts or anything like that, but you, for some reason, have a whip. It's like, how?
Maybe you're Indiana Jones. Who knows?
Yeah, it's crazy. At least I think he had a whip. Now I might just be making that part up in my head. But anyway, it's a fun freaking game, and it's grindy as all hell.
Yeah.
I bought that on the Wii U the minute it dropped, and I was just in love all over again. But that was like pinnacle Castlevania for me. But then you also got to include all the PS2 ones that dropped too. There's all these other ones that apparently interweave with each other. It gets crazy. So it's some of these, if we're doing a whole collection, does the PS2 Xbox era kind of stuff just become its own volume?
I think you gotta it's hard, man, because the series is so convoluted, and it's so you need to figure out what are the story pieces. That, to me, is what I would do. If it was me, I would do 2 collections, and I would do collection 1 is the story, And then the way I would actually name it is Castlevania, the history. You know what I mean? Or the history of Castlevania. And that would be everything that's in the timeline. And then I would do the lore of Castlevania. And then do offshoots. You know what I mean? Like anything that was not really truly part of canon, or anything truly that wasn't part of the main line. Because the thing is you have so many games that have the Belmonts. And the Belmonts are the lore. They are the history of Castlevania. They are the main
That's
story.
the lineage right there,
That's lineage. That's the lineage. Well, maybe that's what you call it, the lineage edition. And for me, that's the main line. Like, that's where you need to get one collection in. And then the other collection would be the games that aren't necessarily part of the lineage. But they're still Castlevania games. But I feel like you need to separate them in some degree.
Yeah, it's weird. Like, I think the easiest way, to be honest, for me would be like NES, SNES is one volume, GBA and DS as like another volume, so to speak. But then you're kind of like restructuring how like those DS games, I guess, well, probably not too much, because a lot of them, the maps were the second screen for the most part in your menus, so like reconfiguring that for the Switch or whatever. But I feel like that might just be the easiest way and the quickest way to kind of like organize everything, because at that point, like, unless you're true hardcore Castlevania people, like, I don't feel like people would care too much about like the lore of the story and whatnot. Like, I think if we're like going in nitty gritty that way, then yeah, it might matter. But I feel like Konami for as much crap as we give them, I'm sure someone over there is in tune with what's gonna sell well in a collection and what isn't, instead of just throwing a hodgepodge of whatever. But I think the most important ones when you think Castlevania are probably going to be Symphony of the Night and Rondo of Blood together somewhere within that collection.
So then the final piece to this puzzle that I want to discuss is, I mean, obviously sales are going to be the linchpin of it all. But do we see Konami get back into the new games world and create a new Castlevania game?
I'm going to say no, on the pretense that Metal Gear Survive was the latest game that dropped.
That was a few years ago, right? Or a couple of years ago.
At least 2 years ago, and that was a bit of a disaster when you had to pay for an extra save slot. So if they pull some crap like that again with Castlevania, that'll be a little rough.
Well,
although,
to be fair, Capcom was a little out of sorts too, until the Mega Man stuff it feels like it feels like Capcom was very much out of sorts until the Mega Man Legacy Collection. That's when it feels like they started to come back in to rings a little bit, and now they're just off the rails again, like a bunch of jackasses. But,
well, you got to remember, this is on the Nintendo side. Everywhere else, they're kind of killing it, but for us Nintendo folk, it is.
Yeah, they're basically bending us over. For me, I would love. Look, I'm. Everybody knows I'm an old school gamer. I love the NES, SNES era. To me, Konami was hands down one of the best game makers on the NES. It kills me to see them not part of the stories anymore. It really, truly just burns me to see that they've basically let the Kojima thing just destroy them and them fall apart. I'm sure there's going to be stories told at some point of what went down at Konami with the whole Kojima debacle. But it hurts to see a company that was one of the best just not even part of the story anymore. And I would love for them to be able to catapult off of the back of Smash and Simon Belmont and Smash and turn it around and go, okay, we're back. We're back. Here we go. Or even if you don't, I would love to, even if they don't do new games, just basically if they could get a company to come in and remaster the games. You know what I mean? Or remake the games. Like, you don't need to go full... Like, just go back into your history and start regenerating them, repopulating them, and bringing them back, and just start coming back again. And do a new Russian attack, like a remastered Russian attack, or a remastered Bayou Billy, or a like, they got so many games that were just classics on the NES. Like, even remaster the original Metal Gear. Like, go back and redo that one. There is so much. And the thing is why not do, like, a Metal Gear, like, anniversary collection where you do the original Metal Gear on the NES, and then the one that was on the computer system that Kojima actually did work on, and put those two in one bundle and go, like, here you go. So you could get to play both at once. Like, because unless you owned a computer back then, you never got to play that version.
And it's crazy, and that's sort of where I wanted to go with this. Is like, I think Konami's money is more on the remaster market, or just bringing these older games over, rather than making new titles right now. I think this could be a way to gain the trust of fans again that kind of dipped off after the whole debacle of everything that happened with Kojima a few years ago. And you build up that trust again, let them know, hey, we're here, we're listening, we want to get these games out for you guys, the fans and whatnot, and start rebuilding that trust again before just dropping a new game. Because I think if you just drop a new game again, it might just be more detrimental in terms of people are just like, whatever, it's another Konami game, and you get all these videos of bashing and whatnot.
The thing is, I think people in this era we live in, people just are quick to make assumptions, quick to just believe what they want. I really truly believe there are two sides to every story.
Oh yeah.
And I feel like, and I don't care what nobody says, listen, let me preface this. I love Kojima. I love Metal Gear games. Huge fan of Metal Gear games. But dude, Kojima is not the quickest developer there is. He takes forever to make games. And there was stories leading into Metal Gear where Konami was hurting for money. And Konami was like, listen, man, we got to put something out. And that's where we got the demo for Metal Gear Solid 5, which was like an offshoot of, that came out like a year before or whatever. But at the end of the day, like, the dude, I feel was hurting the company more than helping the company. And I think they were at a point where they just looked at it as, you're not listening to what we need as a company. You're taking way too long and spending way too much money to put this game out. We need this game to hit. And that's it. And I feel like he just wasn't listening. He was just doing what he wants to do. And it's honestly, it's the same tale right now at Sony with him in Death Stranding, where the dude is taking forever to put this game out. And,
I think that was kind of a given.
Well, don't get me wrong. I knew right off Jump Street. But they started showing this thing way too early.
Way too early. They didn't even have an engine when they first started showing it. They were still trying to figure it out.
So my thing is like, you look at what he's doing right now at Sony. And I feel like, it isn't even I know. I read the articles. I watched it all building up. Now, do I like the way that Konami handled themselves at the end of it? Not at all. I felt like they were just being spiteful and kind of like slapping his wrist a little bit. But I'm sure they were bitter. I'm sure they were pissed that the way this relationship was all starting to devolve. So I get their side. I get Kojima's side, because I also feel like Kojima is the Miyamoto of Konami, or the Sakurai of Konami. And when you're the only one making games at that point, and you're putting out these legendary tales of games, I think at some point, because if I'm not, who
Igarashi.
Yeah, that's another one.
Iga, your Castlevania guy, left, gone, goes and makes Bloodstain. Like, dude.
Yeah, but Bloodstain,
like, something is happening. Something's.
Well, I think what it was they just were tired of the gaming cycle. Like, games weren't like the AA, AAA games.
Yeah.
Were starting to bankrupt companies. Like, Acclaim
Well, yeah, at
went
that
away.
time, yeah, the
THQ went
crash
away.
2008.
Yeah, all those companies started like really falling apart. So, but like when you look at it, I just look at it from a different side, and I feel like there's definitely two sides to each story.
Oh,
and
yeah,
I feel
definitely.
like the one side is the business side that's taking a bath with how long you're taking to put out games, and the one side is, where you're viewed as the be all end all of that company. You feel like you're owed some respect, and you're not receiving that respect.
Hmm.
So, like I said, I can see both sides of the picture here. I'm just waiting. I can't wait till the day comes out that the story actually comes out of what went down.
Yeah, we may never find out.
I'm sure we may never, but
Yeah.
no, I think Jeff Keighley will be the one that breaks the story, and he'll be coming out with at least with Kojima's side of the story.
That'll be awesome, though. But yeah, I mean, just to bring it back full circle, I think to earn that trust, they start bringing out some of these collections, or at least divvy them out. Like, I'm not talking about now just Castlevania games. Like,
Yeah.
okay, we know this may be a thing and may come out based on this one thing. Maybe we always got to put that as like, hey, they could just be asking, and something may never come out of this.
Yeah.
But I think, like you were saying, Metal Gear Solid collections or a remaster of the Twin Snakes on the GameCube onto the Switch.
Yeah.
That's a big one. That is piece of history stuck on a console. That's on the GameCube. It's the only place you could play that game.
Wait a minute. The game. What's the one? Oh, Snake Eater. That's the one that's
Snake
on
Eater
3DS.
is on. Yes, yeah. Snake Eater's on 3DS, but like bring out Sons of Liberty, bring out Snake Eater.
Snake Eater is horrible. Snake Eater is like a movie, dude.
Well, here's where we're starting to understand the tech a bit
Yeah.
more. I mean, all those games had long cutscenes, but like
his game started taking.
have you played Metal Gear Solid 4?
I didn't because of that. Because of the 40-minute cutscenes. It was like, come on, bro.
The intro is about 30 minutes, 45 minutes, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
I played through that game a bajillion times. Like, I was down to like knocking that game in like 4 hours or something like that.
And it's all cutscenes.
Well, you can cut them all.
Yeah, you're like, it's 4 hours. Joe actually played for 4 minutes, and he just watched all the cutscenes. Okay,
but yeah, like Silent Hill.
Yeah,
bring that for the first time to the Switch.
Oh my god, yeah.
Sorry, Shattered Memories was out on the Wii, but I'm talking about real Silent Hill games.
Yeah,
like,
yeah, but bring out the better Resident Evil games. I got you. I understand.
Hey, Capcom.
No. Silent Hill's the better Resident Evil games.
Oof, Bobby. I'll give him on the psychological, dude.
Yeah.
Psychologically, those games are terrifying.
Yeah. I mean, that's what it boils down to. Okay, so next up, Game Pass. It's this little thing that Xbox does. Do you ever see Nintendo implementing a Game Pass type service on the Switch? So Game Pass is essentially what, $5, $10 a month?
$10, $9.99,
and you get a lot. It's like 200 games. What are you doing?
100 games. I'm so happy that this topic is finally being brought up because everyone thought I was crazy.
Just relax. No. We're not saying Game Pass coming to the Switch.
No, I know.
We are saying, do we think that Nintendo implements a Game Pass? What do you think? What do you think?
I'm on the note. Well, isn't essentially the Nintendo Online program a Game Pass of sorts with these NES games?
But no.
You don't think so?
No, because we got to look at what Game Pass is. Game Pass is essentially 200 games, and they're putting new games on there and all that stuff. So do we ever see Nintendo charging like a $10 entry fee, $10 a month, where they put new games, old games, all that stuff on there, and you can just play them at will? I'd
say not Nintendo games directly. As far as like the new stuff, I think not a chance in hell, because look at how much money that they're making off selling $60 games right now. Although you can make a claim that a lot of the Xbox games that are coming to Game Pass, people may have already bought, or people chose the physical over. Like, for example, Sea of Thieves. I think it was Sea of Thieves. More people bought the physical than the Game Pass for that game. I think just because they wanted to still have physical. So, I mean, you'll still have people like that around, but I feel like that is just that there's just too much money not being made by Nintendo directly doing it. But I will say Nintendo has to be having these conversations with other developers about some sort of EA Origin type thing where you're getting those company subscriptions onto your Switch and getting either early access to these games or paying a certain amount a month to get X amount of that company's games. And the reason that I sparked this a year ago, before E3 last year, was when Capcom dropped Resident Evil 7 as a streaming thing to test out in Japan to see how that would run. I think there is something there with that, where either companies are going to come together or companies are each going to separately have their own subscription service working with Nintendo on the Switch to have these games coming out, whether it's a monthly basis or, you know, every couple of months, certain games they'll have right there for you to either stream or download to your Switch.
So, with a topic like this, you know, people are just wondering, like, you know, if we ran Nintendo, what would happen? And, you know, it's good that we have someone here that runs Nintendo on a weekly basis.
You know?
So, so the thing is I feel like Nintendo wouldn't, this is not a Nintendo thing to do. They would not incorporate a Games Pass like Microsoft does. I do feel like it could be a good idea to do that, just because essentially what you're doing is, and I think what Microsoft is doing ultimately is they're reading the tea leaves, and they feel like gaming is going to become similar to all media. And when you think about it, like everything media that we knew back in the day has become service-based, and nothing anymore is, I mean, don't get me wrong, I could still buy a movie. I mean, I can still go buy any movie I want to, or I could subscribe to Netflix. Now, I subscribe to Netflix, I subscribe to Hulu, but then I will also go onto Apple and buy the movies as I want to buy them.
Mm-hmm.
Which I think it doesn't, I think some people that think, like you had referenced, like, well, they're selling so many $60 games, I don't think they'll do it. I don't think that's the reason why they don't do it. I think they don't do it because Nintendo just likes total control and likes to basically march to the beat of their own drum. But I do believe the future of this industry and the future of this business goes the way regular traditional media is, where it basically falls apart and you have service-based gaming is going to become a thing. Now, you'll still have the ability to buy the games. Like, that's the thing. Like, Microsoft is offering Game Pass, but then they're also saying, like, hey, if you like the game, you want to buy it, you can still buy it for $60. No big deal. We're not telling you not to buy it. We're just saying that you have the ability to play it when you play it. But, and this is why I think it's a good idea. Because, like Netflix, what's the encouragement to buy, you know, Avengers? Because there's going to come a time where Netflix is going to pull that off the service. And they're going to put something else in its place. It's the same thing. And I think Nintendo could do the same thing where you charge $10 a month, you put the brand new games in there, you put everything in there. Maybe you do a little limited exclusive where you go, like, at the end of the month, we're going to put the game, like, if, let's just say hypothetically, when the new Yoshi game comes out, right? New Yoshi game comes out next week. Is it next week? It is next week. Right?
2 weeks?
2 weeks, something like that. Whatever it is. It comes out this month. So then you basically go, like, hey, you have 1 month of the only way to play this game is to buy the game, and then we put it onto the Game Pass type service.
Yeah.
I think that's what Nintendo should do. I don't have a problem with it if they did it. There's a group of people that feel like that when Xbox does stuff like this, they're burning the customers. And my question is how? How? Everybody has the opportunity to sign up for Game Pass. You have the opportunity to sign up for Game Pass if you want. Mm-hmm. You choose not to. So why would you get upset if I pay? Why would somebody get upset for paying $60 for a game when this guy gets it for $10 on Game Pass? You have the same opportunity to buy it on Game Pass, and I think that's what Microsoft is trying to do, is to shift people over to Game Pass. I think it's a good idea, honestly. I think it's the future. I think it's what Nintendo should lean into. I don't know if in Japan, I feel like the streaming is a different thing, and it's a streaming service. United States internet is nowhere near Japan. I think we got another 10 years before it even gets up to snuff. They just
it ain't stopping these companies, dude.
Where? They're not streaming here in the United States. They're streaming in Japan.
Yeah, I know, but I'm saying, like, you have, I mean, dude, look at Sony with PlayStation. We've had companies, and granted, they've gone down, like, on live. I bought a few things from on live back in the day.
Yeah.
Dude, the service worked clean. Like, I rarely had any hiccups. Again, like you said, depending on where you are, yes, you're going to have these issues and whatnot. But at some point, it's going to start happening, and it's not going to work for everyone at the first one. It's like you're adding a multiple patches to this thing that's going to keep growing and evolving until the point that it's going to push everybody to, get to the next tier of generation of internet, whatever that ends up being, the 5Gs, the 6Gs, and all that fun, wacky stuff, But it's got to start at some point.
Yeah, but I don't think in the United States, streaming, not saying downloading, streaming is not viable right now. Because there's a lot of people that the internet is not strong enough.
It's not, but I mean, that hasn't stopped Hulu, that hasn't stopped Netflix, that hasn't stopped all these companies, these cable companies having streaming services.
But there's a totally different thing.
Yes, there's
a totally different thing when a movie buffers and a game buffers.
Of course, you have the latency issue, of course, and that's always going to be an issue, but this is the time to start figuring this stuff out.
No. I'm not saying they're not trying to. They are trying to in Japan. I'm saying in the United States, we're not ready for that yet. I'm not saying that we don't start. I'm saying that the next 3 months is not the time to bring this over.
Well, of course, yeah.
In Japan, though, they're doing it now. They're trying it. They're giving it a go, and it works seamlessly over there.
They could test it in the big cities. You got L.A., you got New York City, you got Chicago.
Of course, you would bring something up like that. Of course, you would.
Well, no, dude.
No. I understand. It's all about New York.
You test it in the big city areas.
I understand. You guys
you stress it.
Yeah. Okay.
It's like Google with their never-ending fiber thing and how like no one's gotten it except for California.
Well, okay. So here's the thing, though. Your internet isn't the best.
Here, that's plan wise, and I mean, I'm able to stream 1080 now. It's just my computer on the fritz, but
what you're able to buy, is it strong?
Yeah. Like I have my Nighthawk router that works like a charm.
But they throttle you, don't they?
Every now and again. I haven't gotten throttled in about 8 months, 9 months, or whatever.
Because James has that problem too, and he's in New York City as well.
Well, he's in Long Island. That's
same thing.
That's garbage.
Same thing.
Sorry, Long Island.
Oh boy,
you don't count.
You are messed up, man. You are messed up.
Long Island doesn't count as New York City. Get out of here.
Oh boy.
They wanted to not be a part of Queens and Brooklyn. All right, so
you don't want to have this conversation, do you? You want to have this conversation, AOC?
Listen here, Jersey boy.
You want to have this conversation, AOC? I was hoping that when she ran Amazon out, that somebody from New Jersey would be like, "Hey, Amazon, we're here. You could put it right here on this side of the river, and you would get all the New Yorkers to come here."
I never understood that. I thought it was a cool thing to have Amazon there, but I guess not. I guess we don't want jobs.
I guess not. Don't get me started on that. This isn't the time for this conversation.
I know. Whoops.
What are you doing? Just the New York attitude's coming out. He's starting to flip stuff over there. He's mad about no jobs. So back on the Game Pass. I feel like Nintendo should do it, honestly. I just don't think they ever will. I don't think that they will offer a Games Pass type service. It's just not in the cards for them. I think I think the first Game Pass you're going to get is Game Pass from Xbox on the Switch.
It's going to be so strange.
Not really.
I love it.
I love it. I said it a year ago, man, that I felt like this is where Xbox was going.
I'll re-sign up for it.
Yeah.
Day one.
Yeah.
Bet.
I would sign up for Xbox Game Pass on the Switch wholeheartedly. I just want to know what it would entitle and what it would bring. I don't think that I could play Forza on there. But I was listening the other day to, was it NBC or was it GameScoop? One of those, and they were saying like, hey, you bring, I think it was Unlocked. and they were basically saying like, hey man, you bring it to, you know, the Switch, and it's dumbed down, and it doesn't look as great, and you go, hey, you could play this here, or you could buy an Xbox One and get it to look with the 4K and all the bells and whistles. Honestly, it's a smart strategy, man, where you can get people to move over and buy some stuff. I like the way it's moving. I really do.
What's it called? The Trojan horse? The Games Pass is kind of the Trojan horse.
It's a Trojan horse effect, man. It really is, man. You come in and you go like, hey, here's this free giant horse we're going to give you. This statue. We love you. And then you open it up and it's like, here comes all these soldiers out. And it's like, we're taking over, baby. We're taking over. We don't want to make a handheld ourselves. We're going to use your handheld to basically push our games.
The way I was actually thinking about how Games Pass would work is if you want to play those high quality games, you're probably going to have to stream some of those games because not everything is going to be able to work right on the Switch as a download, I bet. And this is all imaginative. This is if this even comes out to the Switch. I would imagine you can download certain games onto your Switch, but everything else is going to have to be streamed some way through their xCloud service or something like that.
Possibly
is my guess.
Well, xCloud is not ready yet.
It's not ready yet, but a beta process or whatever of this, you know.
We are in some strange times, man. Well, you know,
I love this.
The streaming side, like you were talking about before, like the testing. I don't know if you remember. I would say as far back as 2 years ago, when the WWE Network started. Dude, you would watch pay-per-views, and that stuff would buffer all the time.
It was a bad start.
It would. You would be in the middle of a match, and it would stop, and it would rewind, like 3 seconds, 4 seconds, and you would start playing again, and it would stop, and then rewind 10 seconds, and then it would start playing again, and then it would stop, and I was like, dude, what is going on? and the thing that used to annoy me was, so I had WWE Network, right? And I'm watching, and then, like, I used to follow them with the bell on Twitter. And, like, the match is not over yet on WWE Network. And they're giving me the results on the phone on Twitter.
Oh,
and I was like, well, you're getting unfollowed over there, so I don't follow WWE on Twitter no more. I'm like, you're done. You're out.
Yo. Oh, my God.
So the rumor is we're just gonna push along with this topic a little bit.
Yeah.
So the rumor is that Ori and Cuphead are potentially the next two games to come to Switch from Microsoft. Would be mind blowing if that happened. Honestly,
never in a million years would I have thought Cuphead, if this is true, coming to Switch. Like, I can see Ori, even though it's a Microsoft. Is that Microsoft Studios, or are they just publishing it?
I think they're just publishing it.
So it's sort of the Mass Effect situation with BioWare, where Mass Effect 1 and 2 were, definitely 1. I'm not so sure about 2, but 1 was definitely a Microsoft Studios published game, and that ended up on the PlayStation with 1 and 2, and they got them there. This is sort of that, but on a smaller scale, sort of, which I find really interesting if this is all actually going to happen. Like, maybe that's how they get around some of these games not coming to Game Pass. Maybe they make scaled down versions of these games, because I'm sure there's probably some sort of scaling that they've got to do with at least Ori and some of the crazy, with some of like the particle effects and whatnot.
Particle effects, yeah. But Cuphead, there's no reason why that can't go to Switch.
That game is like perfect for Switch. Like, dude, oh my God, if that is actually going to happen. I bought it on the Xbox. I've yet to play it, but like watching everyone else play it, I'm just like, oh my God, this would fit so perfect with the Switch. That is a game that you're gonna look at like 5-10 years down the road, and it's going to age well just for the art style alone.
I think the thing that blows me away is the games that people were screaming for that they wanted on the Switch a few years ago are now actually starting to make their way over.
It's crazy.
Because here's the thing, like, during the last E3, they showed off Tunic, which is like a top-down Zelda clone of a little fox in a little green tunic. And
I completely forgot about that.
oh my god, dude, I want that game so badly, but it's an Xbox exclusive. Dude, could you imagine if it comes to Switch? If they're like, "Hey, here you go. Here's one of the games we're going to give you." Like, holy cow. If that's what we're getting, if that's the stuff we get as part of the Game Pass, like, I'm a day one adopter. I would pay $10 a month to be able to play Ori, to be able to play Cuphead, to be able to play Tunic, to be able to play Rare Replay, all on the Switch.
Dude, think about it. Like, if you were to buy a Switch day one and you don't have $60 to buy a game, but you've got about $20 to spend on games after you're buying your Switch, essentially you can buy a month of Nintendo Online for $4.
Yeah.
And you can buy the Game Pass for $9.99. And you're staying within that $20 budget for games, but you've got this plethora of a library between the NES classics and your Game Pass stuff.
Yeah.
If this all actually happens, it's pretty insane to think of when you have almost 100 games right off the bat for under $20. That's wild.
So the thing I'm curious, we're gonna just kind of like slowly trickle along here, but Nintendo does do something closely, like you've mentioned a couple times with the Nintendo Online. How much time have you put into Nintendo Online games?
Me, dude, what, day one and that was it? Like I said from the get, the games are icing on the cake for me.
Yeah, but have you played any of the games yet or no?
Not since what, Metroid launched? What was that, 2 months ago?
Yeah, something like that. There's a lot of disgruntled Nintendo fans that are upset that like Japan's getting 3 or 4 games a month, we're getting 2 with a couple SPs. Myself personally, I'm not upset about it because I like the games that are coming to the Nintendo Online. If we were getting 2 duds, I would probably be a little bit more upset. But like this month, we got Kid Icarus and Star Tropics, and I think they're both phenomenal games. I really do. Kid Icarus is a very hard game. It's only hard levels 1 to 1-4. If you can get past that, the game starts to open up and get a little bit easier. But it's really good, man. It's a really fun game. Star Tropics is very similar to a top-down Zelda game.
That's what strong. I keep hearing.
It's a really good game as well. Last month we got some good games, Super Mario Bros. 2 and all that stuff. I'm okay with what they're doing. I don't necessarily have a problem because I think the thing that people are forgetting is, yes, we got 2 NES games. We also got this little game called Tetris 99 that is part of the program. And that's where I think Nintendo is taking the leg up. Where, yes, we're giving you 2 games, but hey, we're also giving you this game for free. And they're doing all these different things that are... There was also Splatoon exclusive stuff that we got for free. That, unless you were a Nintendo Online, you didn't get this gear that was Splatoon.
Yeah.
I'm okay with that stuff. I'm okay with what they're giving us as far as the free content and stuff. I know there's people that are upset about it.
Yeah.
But I don't understand why they're upset. The only part of this all that bothers me a little bit is the online isn't the best. But to me, the only time I ever had a problem playing a Nintendo game was during a Splatfest or during Mario Aces and such. When they did these big events, the tournaments of Mario Aces, I mean, I've played Splatfest since Nintendo Online. And the drops have been, to me, in my estimation, less. Now, I'm not gauging, I'm not counting, I'm not keeping track, so I don't know. The only game to me that shows a very hard weakness in Nintendo Online, in the online gameplay, is Smash. That game lags out so badly. But it's the way that they set it up. It's the peer-to-peer. Mm-hmm. And if you're not close to somebody, man, you're getting a hard, bad game.
Yeah.
So I don't know. What's your take on Nintendo Online as a whole?
Dude, to me, just like the Xbox Live service, just like the PlayStation Network, I treat it as I'm paying to get online. Like that's how mentally, like I've always just set it up that way. Like I never, and this is me for someone who had paid for Xbox Live throughout the entire 360 generation just to play online with other people.
Mm-hmm.
I was fine with that's all I was getting. I know now that with the culture of, hey, you're getting free games with this stuff, getting more bang for your buck and everything like that, it can change that mentality of someone like, well, why am I going to pay for this when I could go over to PlayStation, pay $60 and have, these two free games from PlayStation because they got rid of PlayStation 3 Vita games for now on. So only PlayStation 4 games they'll give you for free now. So there's that. They're done with that. So even they're back down to 2, but they're newer games, so you can make a claim for that. Xbox, you're getting free games and discounts. Sorry, same with Sony as well. We don't really see the discount side of that other than through regular sales. And like you said, we're getting Tetris, we're getting the NES games. That might not be icing on the cake for a lot of people, but for me, that's how I see it. It's just like that stuff has always been extra to me. I never really played the free games. It's a download and then forget about it for me, to be honest, unless it's something I'm like, okay, yes, no, I absolutely need to freaking get on this. Like the early days of PlayStation Network on the PS3 were like discounts on a bunch of PlayStation 1 classics. I was all over that. Final Fantasy 8, 7, like all those games, I was on that. If they do something with, whether they continue with this adding Nintendo games to it, or if they're going to open up a separate virtual console where you're going to buy games again, at least make it a perk to add discounts to those games. I would be with that at least, but don't make me spend another $10 on Mario Brothers World again.
The one thing that Akuma is bringing up, he says they need to redo online platform, to be honest. Why can't I invite people to play games, for example? The only thing that I'll say to that is this. What I don't like about the invite thing, and as someone that streams games, whenever I jump in and I start streaming Fortnite, one of the most frustrating things in the world is when people just jump into my lobby. And it's like, oh, he's streaming, I'm going to jump in. And they just jump in. And it's like, I'm in the middle of doing something. Like, either I'm doing solos on purpose because I'm trying to knock out some of the stuff with the campaign. Or, like, me and Dude are going to do some duos to knock out some challenges. It gets frustrating sometimes when people just jump into your matches and your games.
Yeah.
If they're going to allow that, I want a more hearty way, an easy way of just locking people out if I choose to lock people out. Not so much just locking them out. I would like to be able to lock them, like, maybe give, because we can tier off, like, friends, like best friends in the Nintendo, like, on our friends list. Like, my best friends could jump in with me anytime I want. But if you're not my best friend, I don't want you to be able to just jump in whenever you want. And to me, it gets a little frustrating when, and Fortnite's the only example that I have of this, where I will kick somebody, and within a second, they're right back in the lobby. It's like, dude, you just got kicked out of the match. There's a reason for that. Don't just come right back. But
so you can't set up private lobbies or anything like that in Fortnite?
You can do private, but the thing is like, for some reason, it's just weird. It becomes difficult to get people in sometimes, because when you're private, sometimes they can't find you. Because here's the thing, like, if I'm playing, I might not be able to see Rybo on my list, and I'll be like, Rybo, just join me. But the minute I'm private, he can't see me, so he can't jump in. And it might be like I'm in the middle of a match, I'm like, hey, Rybo, just come on in when you get a chance. But he can't come find me. So it just makes things a little difficult sometimes.
It seems like it's like almost because each game has a different way of privatizing all that stuff. And there's like, if you go into Mario Kart per se, like I can just be online and then people can just jump right in and just be like, oh yeah, whatever. Like as long as they're my friend or whatever. Yeah. But if they want to jump in, like it's already like locked out to just being a friend lobby sort of way. And I don't know if there's a way for Nintendo to share that stuff, or if they just don't want to share that, because I feel like that'll make things a lot easier.
Yeah, I think what, and maybe I'm wrong, and correct me if I'm wrong if I'm speaking out of turn for Yokuma. I think what he's looking for is the ability of, hey, my friend is online and he's playing Mario Kart. I just want to be able to go click his name and fire into
and jump on
match.
In.
Just go right to his match.
I got you.
Not fire up Mario Kart, then go to online, then go to find my friend, and then like he just wants to be able to just click and boom in.
Yeah.
And that honestly is something that should be there. I don't know why Nintendo doesn't bring that. That doesn't make sense to me. But I'm also not sure if that's going to take a major overhaul. Like that might be something they are working on. We don't know. Because that's the weird thing with Nintendo. They'll just all of a sudden go like, here's this update. And then you download the update. And then all of a sudden, guess what? All Bluetooth controllers are available on the Switch now. And they weren't when it first launched. Like you think about when the Switch first launched and all the updates we've gotten and all the little changes to the dynamics that have gone over this time. So I think that it's definitely something that could happen. It's just basically, like Rybo saying, this stuff is just built into the firmware. And I believe that it's just stuff that will eventually open up and unlock. Me personally, I would love to see them just get rid of these. Stop making us use the phones for chat. I
think that's coming.
Yeah, I do too.
I think that's coming. So we'll find out GDC. Like, I have this like gut feeling everything that we're talking about right now is what Microsoft is working on with Nintendo. I think they're helping them with the back end stuff. That we have been. I hope so. Yeah.
Well, what was it? I can't remember the name of the company now. Vivo or Vivek or whatever. VVO. They were working on. They actually did the voice for Fortnite.
Oh, okay.
And they were putting out a packet to be like, if you want voice chat on the Switch, this is what you do. Now, here's the caveat. I know for a fact, from having conversation with somebody, that when you go to Nintendo and you want to implement voice chat into your game, you initially you have to put it on this. It has to be on this. You can opt out, but you have to have a good reason. And one of the
is Fortnite on there?
Fortnite is not on there. Fortnite is built in. You have to have a good reason why. The reason why is we're offering cross-play multi-platform. So they need to be able to talk to Sony and Xbox. So Nintendo goes, well, yeah, they can't do that through Nintendo Online. Done. Go. So that's where the caveat is. If it's a game, I'm trying to think of a game that would just be on Switch. It's a multiplayer.
Warframe, I was going to say is... Well, you mean
Warframe
just specifically
allows it.
on...
Warframe, you could talk via chat in-game. Minecraft should be another one. Minecraft doesn't have voice chat yet. But Minecraft is one that should have it. It was on the Wii U, man. You could voice chat on the Wii U, so it's a little interesting. I guess we'll see as time goes on.
Yeah,
Speaking of the
really
phones,
excited.
Speaking of the phones, there's a little game getting ready to launch sometime this year on the phone.
Oh man,
Octopath Traveler. There's a rumor. Well, not even a rumor. Did they announce it officially?
They announced it for Japan. Yeah,
okay.
It was Japan. As far as we know, it's Japan only at this moment.
Okay. Which Japan only means you just create a Japanese account and go download it.
Yeah.
The thing that stinks is that it's not going to be in English, so you're not going to be able to read anything they're saying. But if you really are hard up and if you know how to speak Japanese, you can get it. You know what I mean? So ultimately, what they're doing is they're talking about bringing this game to mobile. It's a prequel. Is that correct?
Yes. Yeah, it's a prequel.
There's also microtransactions built into it.
Not 100% sure, but I wouldn't be surprised. I would not be surprised. It's supposed to take place 8 years before the events of Octopath Traveler. I guess they picked 8 because of the Octo, but that's my guess.
Possibly.
But
So the thing is I just did a story last week, I think, where PlayStation fans were petitioning to get the new Pokemon games brought to PlayStation. Like, stop. But it was Japanese. It was Japanese fans. But what I didn't know, and what I did learn by doing that story, was they also petitioned Square to bring Octopath to PlayStation. Now, that will never happen because Nintendo actually funded that game. I wonder if this game is A, also funded by Nintendo, and B, if this is their basically their way of saying, like, hey, we can't bring it to PlayStation, but if you want to play it, you can play it on your phone. And I'm curious if that's the case.
That's a really interesting take on it, because yeah, like that was the Bravely Default team that worked on Octopath Traveler. So I'm wondering if this is also the Bravely Default team working on this mobile game as well. I'm not 100% sure. I got to dig around a little bit more to see, because all we know right now, it's coming out sometime in 2019, and it was a Japanese trailer. I didn't see a US trailer, but if anyone knows, let me know, because I'd like to see it. Because even like the battles and everything were straight up all Japanese characters, so it was really interesting how much the game looked like not Bravely Default, Octopath on the Switch. So I was like really excited that they can keep the 16-bit art style and not try to mess with my art style. Do it for Final Fantasy VI, damn it. That's what I'm getting at, Square. I'm looking at you. Anyway, getting away from that.
I would love that.
I'm really interested. I'm not excited, but I am interested to see where this goes.
So Bad Latency is saying that the Octopath prequel, they said, will basically be episodic.
Okay, that's so then that probably means there's going to be some pricing structure to it.
Yeah.
Maybe there isn't microtransactions for it. Maybe
I don't know, but I also heard like all the movesets aren't there from the get. There's stuff that's missing that's typically that was in the original Octopath game.
It seems more simplified, and I'm sure they couldn't enter in all the battle mechanics into this version of the game, possibly for reasons unknown, to get it across multiple mobile devices is what I'm guessing.
Yeah.
But I am interested into seeing where this goes, and also with Square Enix's pricing structure, it's not the greatest on mobile, because people are, again, this is going to the way people perceive mobile games is it's either free and you're spending a crap ton of money on microtransactions, or they're not spending $20 for a mobile game. And that's what Square does. They charge a premium for their games.
Yes. They
charge what you would pay on a console, which I commend them for that.
Yeah.
They're like one of the few people that I see charging the same amount for a game on a mobile phone and treating it as such across the board.
Yeah.
I don't mind it. So if they are going to charge like $5 an episode or something like that, I'll give it a shot on at least the first episode and see where we go from there, you know? But yeah, not seeing this on Switch kind of hurts. I'm not going to lie. It kind of hurts, especially with how good Octopath Traveler did.
Yeah. I mean, it did phenomenally well on the Switch.
And like Square does this weird thing where like now you're trying to loop in and make stories canon across different devices, and this is like the Kingdom Hearts syndrome all over again, where we're seeing story being developed on other platforms, and it's like, dude, just give me a collection now and put it all together.
So recently, also this week, it came out that Nintendo kind of backed off the way they're doing mobile. They basically went to their developers. Lost Dragilia was the one that was complaining the loudest, it seemed, where Nintendo's basically told them, like, slow your roll with microtransactions and how much money people are spending per day. We don't want them overspending. And in a day and age where we are filled with greed and people just hammering the consumer for getting more money and loot boxes and microtransactions and all this stuff, it blows me away to see Nintendo is just basically going like, hey man, we're not, like, we love money, but we're also about making you happy. And we understand that this mobile market is a dirty place at the moment. And we're not happy with the way people just like you look at the Candy Crush stuff and how many millions upon millions of dollars, hundreds of millions of dollars, that these companies, the King is bringing in on a weekly basis, monthly basis, yearly basis. And it's like, Nintendo's like, we can make money, we can feed our people with the money, but we don't have to be greedy about it and do microtransactions for every little thing. I applaud them for that move. It's shocking, to say the least, to see them do something like this. What was your thoughts when you heard all this?
Yeah, it was like people were like, Nintendo doesn't like money. Like, no, this is kind of a good thing for, one of the big three. When you're looking at Microsoft, Sony, and Nintendo as a whole. And especially it's their games that are being put on mobile that, like, oh my god, I can only imagine how much money is being spent on Fire Emblem. That's gone on 2 years now. They just had their 2-year anniversary back in February, and it's like, wow, okay, good, kudos to you, Nintendo. Also, I think it's also a liability sort of thing as well, where you saw in the past year a lot of governments from different areas getting involved in the loot boxes, in sort of the that microtransaction era, where it's like, okay, hey, this is teetering on the line of gambling for kids, and say what you will, there's just a lot of stuff getting into it, and I think they're trying to dissuade that, and they're trying to step back and like say, hey, let's treat this differently a little bit. So I think they're trying to just find another way to bring in that cash flow, but not as rash.
Yeah, not absorb and not like eat people's pockets with it. It amazes me because this is also a company that will like put out a game 1 million times and charge us every single time they put it out. So to hear this aspect was kind of like, huh. But also to hear that Furukawa, when he first stepped in, was like, we're going to start pushing more mobile games across the board. So for now to hear them go like, we're going to do more on mobile, but we're not going to overcharge our customers. They came out the gates with Super Mario Run and tried to implement a system where it was like, hey, you can play the first few levels for free. It's free to start. And then we're going to hit you with a $20 or $10, I think it was $10. Just jump in and you pay the $10 and you go and you're off and running. I like that way. You know what I mean? Like, I don't, but then again, I come from the Nintendo side of, we did that a lot on 3DS. Like, they would do free to start games on the 3DS. So I'm okay.
Free to start, Jesus Christ.
I'm okay with that, but I understand the mobile market is just totally different because when they go free to play, it's not free to play. Like, stop. Like, you're lying to people. Like, yes, it's free to play until you make the levels so incredibly hard that you have to pay in order to get past them. I remember during the Candy Crush phase, like, I was really playing super hardcore, like, every day. And, dude, it got to the point where I would be stuck on one level for weeks at a time. And then it got to the point where I was just like, okay, I'm out. I can't do this anymore. I can't be a part of this. I can't be privy to this. And I just stopped playing. It got to the point where it's just so frustrating. I just stopped playing. And that was one of those games I like to just be at a doctor's office, jump in, play for a little bit, and done. Or out to dinner, at the time when I was married, my wife might be still on the menu looking. I already know what I want to eat. She's reading the menu or whatever. And I'd play a couple of levels and then stop. But it got to the point where it was just so ungodly frustrating that you had to pay. And I like the fact that Nintendo's going like, hey, we're not going to make it super difficult for you to continue this game and to keep playing. You're center in the camera. You've been center for a very long time.
I went way off.
You purposely moved that way, and I'm like, what are you doing? Just relax. Don't look at your Skype. Your Skype call, you're not centered in the thing you're centered. Just leave it alone, Joe. Just leave it alone. So that's where we're at. So I don't know. I think we're good for this week. I think we had a solid hour and 43 minutes. Like, what the heck, man? Pat makes us do these 2-hour shows, and I'm like, no, we're cutting it out, bro. We're done. Thank you guys for listening to another episode of the Planet Nintendo podcast. This is brought to you by the NintenTalk YouTube channel. Be sure to check out everything that Pat is doing over here on NintenTalk. This is a great little channel that he has going on. Has a lot of subs. Great dude. Great video content that he produces and all that stuff. Eventually we'll get him streaming more often and back and doing all that stuff again. My dude here, Joe After Work, be sure to check him out over everywhere you can go. It's Joe After Work, but Twitch is his main home. That's where he does a lot of streaming and all that stuff. Check him out at joeafterwork.com. You can follow me over on nintendoguru.com. I am doing streaming to 3 locations, to Twitch, to YouTube, to Twitter. I also do a lot of Nintendo content, a lot of Nintendo videos. Nintendo Guru Daily is a thing over my YouTube channel, so if you'd be so kind to jump over there and give me a sub, I would wholeheartedly appreciate that. We will see you next Sunday, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Hopefully at that point Patrick will be alive and well and back for us. We'll be back and ready to go. We'll probably have a guest with us next week, because that's the way we're going to basically go. Each week will be guest driven, and we'll have another person in the chair, and we'll have, it is what it is. So that is all. Peace out, Preston.
Bye.